In today's world, kids look up to their parents. In some cases, kids will see a loving, nurturing relationship between their parents. And other kids see parents that fight constantly and are miserable. This sometimes can lead to a divorce. According to Kids Health in Dealing with Divorce, they said, "You can feel very alone and unsure of what it all means. It's very common for teens to think that their parents' divorce is somehow their fault, which it isn't. But today we're going to go into the minds of kids that have dealt with divorce. By looking at the effects that divorce can have on children and how growing up way too fast, we will see the strain that divorce put on these children." All right, now let's move on to our next subject, the effects. The effects are very hard to spot in children while their parents are going through divorce, especially to the parents. According to Amy Morin in What Are the Psychological Effects of Divorce on Children on June 2nd of 2017, she says, "Divorce rates have climbed across the globe over the past few decades. It's estimated that 48% of American and British children live in divorced single-parent homes by age 16. This is the worst time for parents to get divorced. I'm not saying that any time is the best time, but this is especially the wrong time because kids are in high school. They already have to juggle between a social life and academics and athletics, but then you have to add the added pressure of divorce, which then won't make them 100% at their academics or their athletics, which they need in high school. But see, then this leads to big problems, big decisions that children might make because they're so angry and might lash out. They might start drugs. They might start drinking. Their sexual activity might rise, only because they want to hurt somebody. Other kids feel a different effect from divorce. Some kids feel like they have to be an adult. Some kids feel like they have to grow up, which might be true. According to Larry Bellotta in Psychological Effects of Divorce on Children, she says, "When parents give their children less attention, discipline, and affection, but also more responsibilities and more pressure." She's right. When you get divorced, you add on the pressure and the responsibility. My examples, some kids might have to go pick their younger kids up from school, or maybe go buy groceries, or maybe help the younger kids with homework. In extreme cases, the older one has to get a job to help pay bills and help run the family. Some families, you at least have one parent watching you at a time. On extreme cases, there is a single parent, which either case still needs the older sibling to help, which adds more pressure. But divorce has been going on past my generation, past the last generation. It goes on way, way before. Divorce is common now. It wasn't always so common. Back then, I doubt that it was even allowed. According to History Cooperative and History of Divorce Law in the USA, September 18th, 2016, the family court system that started in the 1950s, for years couples had to go through the traditional court system to get a divorce. With these changes, law firms specializing in divorce started appearing all over the country. Starting in the 1950s was the harder way of getting divorced. You had to go through all of this paperwork and go through it all. But in the 1970s, which is when we had our big rate jump, this is when divorce became easy, and it just started popping up out of nowhere. History Cooperative. See, we have this big percentage spike in the 1970s because it was so simple. But according to Sheila Kennedy and Breaking Up is Hard to Count, The Rise of Divorce in the U.S., 1980 through 2010 on January 8th in 2014, she says, since 1980, vital statistics suggest that the number of divorces per 1,000 married women in the U.S. has declined to about 20%. I feel like this is correct, but still wrong at the same time. Like, you can't calculate all of the couples that got together and never got married and had children and then technically divorced, but it's separation because they didn't get married. We can't count that, and there's so many cases like this. But the divorce rate has declined. But see, adults also go through divorce. They also feel it. At least this is what Jenny Kootner gives us. She gives us an insight on her experience of being an adult with divorced parents. What nobody tells you about being an adult child of divorce. On October 28th, 2015, she says, when you're a child going through your parents' divorce, your parents put a lot of effort into easing you through the process and making sure you're handling it okay. 26-year-old Jacqueline, whose parents separated when she was 18. When you're an adult, your parents look to you to help them go through this process. This is very true. When you're an adult, you have the obligation to help your parents. It still affects you and puts pressure on you, even when you are an adult. Now, the one coping method when I was researching, the one that I could find, the best one that I thought would help people, is possibly talking to somebody. According to Michael Shafton in The Psychological Effects of Divorce on Children, says, as stated, the benefits of counseling or psychotherapy are immense for children from divorced homes. Psychologists, social workers, marriage, and family therapists can provide enormous benefits for children and adolescents suffering from low esteem, anxiety, and depression. Therapists can alleviate the suffering caused by all too often warring parties who are often insensitive to the needs of their offspring. Their children didn't ask to be neglected or pushed aside due to the separation or divorce of the parents. This is very true. I suggested therapy for children because talking to somebody might help it. It's better than keeping it bottled in and then it exploding at the wrong time. In conclusion, divorce can be very hard on children. Whether you feel the effects of being angry, hurt, sad, mad, or whether you grow up too fast and have to end up helping your family out. Divorce never used to be very common, but now it is. And adults, no matter what age you are, you still feel the pressure of their divorce. But all I know is that divorced kids, you are never alone. There are millions just like you. Just talk to somebody about it. Feel better.